Well, let's just go with it. Say welcome and then.
Yeah.
We don't need it. We just say welcome.
Roll call and.
With no microphone. The mics are here.
They're right here.
Okay. But, okay, no agenda. We're back in, okay. I'll call the meeting to order at 6 o'clock. That's the guess. Okay, meeting is commenced at 6 o'clock. We're going to do our Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good job. Feeling good? Feel better? I don't have an agenda,
So I have an agenda.
okay.
And I have an agenda. And if you want to just go around, we don't have Mary here, so you can have, we'll do attendance for the record.
Okay.
And that way we know who is here. And then we can jump in.
Okay, so we're all here. No absence. And we have the 2026-2027 operating budget on our agenda, as well as the capital request, and then public meeting and public comment and adjournment.
So working off of the agenda, in the latter half of the sheet, you'll see capital. We're going to bump capital out. We're working on the 5-year plan. So that will be at our next budget meeting tonight. We'll focus on the buildings and the academic piece. So that being said,
Sorry, I think she's at the wrong meeting. Yep.
are you in favor of the budget? Yes. If not, have a great day. So,
Not even
what, you said yes. So what was requested in I think a meeting or 2 meetings ago was that each building administrator just have a quick overview of their budget. I just want to be, we're not presenting 2 budgets, okay? We're presenting 1 budget to the board. We're looking at, a series of meetings to have open discussion. If you walk out tonight and you have questions, obviously send them to us before our next meeting next week so we can get answers back to you. Okay, we are going to have a PowerPoint. It's not long. We try to really keep the presentation tight. There's not a lot in it. I'll just start by saying, once you see it and you understand and have the opportunity to question us about the budget, I think you'll see where we're at with it and why we're at the number that we're at. So that being said, Ms. Parker's going to start and just go through some bullet points. If you have any specific questions, if it seems warm in here, I can open the door.
I opened that door because it was very warm. It's okay.
Thank you.
Steph, please. Thanks.
I don't know if you need one, but I'll give you
Thank
one too.
you.
Alright. Alright, so hello. So what I just handed you is just a handout of some quick kind of bullet points that hopefully will help to kind of sum up JHS and kind of the drivers in our budget. The first thing I just want to draw your attention to are the charts. Excuse me. The first one here is the current enrollment for 25-26. You'll see the breakout in terms of grade level, our current section, as well as our class size for this particular year. I'm sorry? Oh.
Yeah, it's freezing.
On the board now. It's too hot. It's too hot.
Always cold. I'm sorry.
Must know you're coming
I think it's warm.
Poor Judy probably has it
straight at her. Sorry.
All right,
No worries.
Beth, getting back to
Yeah, no
your
problem.
bullets.
So the first chart is, like I said, the current enrollment, 25-26 school year. The second one is the anticipated enrollment, obviously with pre-K and kindergarten still being determined as we're going through registrations as we speak. And then first and second grade. And then on the back is just so you can have a sense of kind of summer, mid-year enrollments over the last few years. And the one thing I just want to note with kindergarten, one of the reason why that number is so much higher than the others is because that's any enrollment after the registration deadline. So for this past year, it was 31, and then you can see over the course of the last few years, meaning that the number after the registration date is over is not obviously a true indication of what the full class size would be. So just some understanding of that, as well as the yearly withdrawals that we've had over the last few years. And then the last column is the plus the number each year in terms of enrollment.
Are most of the withdrawals due to parents just changing their mind and not wanting to send them to kindergarten?
Well, the withdrawals are across the school. So
Oh,
it's
they're
not
across-
just
okay.
kindergarten, yeah, so it could be, most
They
of them
they're
are.
Moving, yeah.
Okay, they were lined up with kindergarten, so I
I'm
wasn't
sorry,
sure
yeah, no,
if
that's-
they were kindergarten.
No, they're across the
Got
building,
it,
so
okay.
most of them are
Okay.
relocating.
Mhm.
So obviously, you know, at our building, the biggest driver is class size, as our students are in the same classroom all day, except for lunch, recess, and special. So class sizes really impact the instruction and the learning that occur within the pre-K2 building. And then just some points in terms of what's not in the budget. The first one here I have is STEM. A couple of years ago, we did have STEM. We did eliminate that, like I said, a couple of years ago, and the impact of that has been great. And one of the big reasons is because STEM really helps to promote that play-based learning, that making thinking visible, the vision of the graduate, everything that we want, that cognitive development for our kids. And while our teachers do an incredible job in the classroom, at the K2 level, it's very much the fundamental skills, right? Reading, writing, math. So to be able to truly allow for more of those project-based problem-solving activities is difficult with all the different demands of early literacy and math and those, like I said, those fundamental skills. And also, just as a side note, we're actually having a STEM night tomorrow through the Connecticut STEM Academy that Marilyn Hill, I'm not sure if she's here, but she helped to set that up. And the cap for that night is 200 people, and we're already over the cap. So that just speaks to the volume of what the community is looking for and truly interested in that type of learning and problem solving for their students. So I'm really looking forward to that. I'll make sure to let you know how that goes. And then another point, and I know that Joe is going to talk about this in terms of Tucket as well, but math interventionists, that's something that's not in the budget. Obviously with the elimination of the math coach and literacy coach last year, that has been felt on teachers in regards to curriculum, but then also in terms of helping to support math intervention specifically. We don't have nearly as systematic of a program as we do in reading for math intervention, and so that is just put more on the teachers, and that is not being able to truly track the data and have a targeted intervention for students who need more support in math. Does that make sense so far in terms of kind of what's, okay. And then one thing here I just said for the B shirts is just something within our own building-based budget. We do purchase shirts for our new students coming in, but that is something that we're looking at changing up and having families need to purchase just due to the impact on the budget.
Okay, go ahead.
When was STEM eliminated?
2 years ago, so 2024? Yes, 24, 25.
Okay. Was the curriculum, quite a big expense? Workbooks and other items that are needed for that STEM curriculum?
It was a whole teacher.
It was a teacher, okay.
Yes.
Teacher moved back into an open position.
Yes.
Because of our budget.
Okay,
So it was, back into a regular classroom.
okay. So was there a savings that you could, was there demonstrable savings in doing that?
Salary-
Well, it was a
salary
one
teacher.
FTE.
Oh, teacher. So it could be anywhere from $75,000 to $100,000.
Okay, that's too bad. That's unfortunate. Thank you.
It really is. It's a very meaningful program that was lost for many reasons. I have a question about the math intervention.
Sure.
So there are people doing math intervention, but it's not as.
So we have some paras that are helping to support students who require additional support in math, but it's not tracked in terms of.
Like with LA.
Correct.
So they're
And
getting
it's not
support,
overseen by
but it's
a
not-
certified teacher,
okay.
yeah,
So there's help, but it's not as good a robust a program as it could be.
very much so.
And the math coach used to oversee that.
She did.
Okay? We're going to go to Tuckett. No, we're going to come back through once we do the budget, so you can ask questions. But we wanted to have every building go just to keep it moving, or we're going to,
So hold our questions.
yeah, let everybody just go through. They're all going to be similar in what the delivery is.
Yeah, sounds good. Thank you.
Okay. So you will see my format is very similar to that. And I'll talk about some of the same ideas. Just for starters, pulling out personnel expenses, operational expenses, fuel, heating, things like that, just taking a look at our supplies, equipment, software, what, we're responsible for in the building day to day as far as our instructional supplies for students. It's really a 2.48 decrease for Tuckett Valley. We've been taking a closer look at several of our lines to see where we can scrape and save some money. Some of those savings come through supplies. We're taking a closer look at the effectiveness and impact of library software and making some more careful decisions about how to move forward with that. Overall, that's about $91,000 that incorporates sort of those non-personnel, non-operating expense type things. There are no new positions, no new programs that are in the status quo budget. What's not in the budget, as Beth shared, a math interventionist, which was something that we had initially proposed at the start of our budget conversations this year.
So it was a K-8, it was one person doing K-8.
Yes.
Yeah, and the reason behind that is we're really looking for somebody to oversee the intervention structures and systems from kindergarten through 8th grade. Right now, that's non-existent. There is research that talks about early intervention and the impact of that. And I think as kids progress through K1 and 2, and this is no fault of any of the staff or teachers at your own, we do see some gaps in the area of math. And we don't have the staff to support that. We do have at TVES one para who works full-time, 5 days a week. We have another para who works with us twice a week. And we do the best with what we have, but it's not enough to do what we're able to do with reading because we have a reading specialist. We have a reading team of paraeducators as well. So the reason for that proposal was really to have somebody to oversee, a certified teacher to oversee the math intervention process. For us, it also meant that we eliminated our Math Olympiad program, which was an enrichment opportunity. So I'm looking at a math interventionist or a math specialist type of a position, not just looking at the kids who need intervention, but also looking at the wide spectrum of students and their needs, and also providing some of those more enrichment and extension type opportunities. With regards to enrollment, you'll see the first table there shows current enrollment for this year. You will see there's a difference in class size, average 18 to 19, 17, 18 for 3rd and 4th grade. 5th grade class sizes are a little bit larger this year. It's important for you to know that this school year, I had to make a decision based on the number of sections that we had, the number of classrooms and teachers, based on the cohort of students. And so I ended up increasing the number of sections for our 4th grade cohort. Having experienced and worked with them for a full year and seeing their academic gaps, their social gaps, and their behavioral gaps. Whereas with my 5th grade cohort, I was very comfortable and confident based on how they were performing that they could do well with a group of 23 to 24 students. And it's a lot, right? 23 to 24 kids in a class is a lot. You walk into a 4th grade classroom and I look around and you think, where are all the kids? Because there's only about 16 or 17. When I walk into a 5th grade classroom, it feels overwhelming. So I wanted to make that note. As a parent myself, who has a 1st grader and a kindergartner in another district, my daughter's in kindergarten, she has 13 students in her class. My son in 1st grade has 14. As a parent, I feel that. And I think my kids do too. They feel more connected, academically, socially, and just, the all-around school experience. With that said, I did propose 1.0 FTE, a 1-year position only. We have that larger cohort in 4th grade that will be moving to 5th grade. With that, there are currently 6 sections of 2nd grade that will be coming up to TDES for next year. So that was the reason behind the proposal. That's not in the status quo budget that you have seen and will be presented tonight. So depending on the number of sections that we have next year, I'll have to make some decisions about some next steps. Currently, our 3rd grade cohort is a little bit smaller. It's a cohort that's a little stronger academically and behaviorally and all around. And so I am debating, do I need to increase the size of that class in order to make sure that we're meeting the needs of the students moving forward. Enrollment trends, similar to what Beth had presented for Jerome Harrison. This is from the past 4 years. Last summer we welcomed in 16 students. We had 2 mid-year enrollments. We have more new enrollments. We have 2 new students that will be starting in just a couple of weeks. And so you can see over the past 4 years, there's still a net. It hasn't had a significant impact, but it's always a worry of mine over the summer when I see that we have 16, 17 new kids. It has ended up shaking out, but there's the chance that it could bump a certain cohort over a certain size. With that, I talked about the math support and the intervention piece. There's a little more on the back of this handout. And just to follow up with Beth's the STEM piece, the science technology piece, at TBS we have a library media specialist who is able to do some of that work with our students. With that said, it's a challenge for her because at Jerome, not only do they not have a STEM teacher, they also do not have a certified library media specialist. And so with our computer science curriculum and some of the other expectations that we're required to do for the state, it's a challenge, to introduce some of those new skills and concepts to students when they're in 3rd grade, not having had that exposure prior to coming to TBS.
Any questions? LEIS?
Do you have our handout?
We're reducing the NBIS budget by $20 for the stock of the paper.
Listen, I did not purchase it. Our department for graciously donating the paper.
If it makes a noise,
That's right.
She was like, you need, here you go.
All
right.
So like color coding.
I need it.
as
It's
well.
a late night. I went for it. So very quickly at the top, what you see is the instructional supports that we have lost in our building between 2021 and 2025. We've lost library para-educator, a Spanish program, which is a teacher in 7th grade, instructional coaches, a special education teacher that was needed for enrollment at the high school, reading specialist. So we've lost a lot of those intervention pieces that were crucial to the middle school. And then on the right, I won't go through it, but you can see some of the impact to the instruction. It's worth noting that the comprehensive reading program was redesigned. Our tier 3 levels at MTSS are not easily available now because our teachers are running some of that MTSS and they teach pretty much all day. So trying to find time for them to be pulled out for supports is difficult. And there's kind of limited ability for that instructional support during the day when I don't have the specialists to help. So that was kind of most of the impact to our instruction. And like Beth and Joe both said, looking at math as a key component, that was a big look for ours. It's something that we're lacking. If you look down, we have staffing for 24-25. We have roughly 115 students per grade, give or take. We've had significant summer enrollment, as Joe mentioned, but we've stayed around 115 to about 125, which averages out to about 19.2 or 20 students a classroom. It is worth noting that we're bare bones right now, that if we took any teacher out of a grade level, that would jump up to 38 students a section.
I'm sorry, how many?
38.
32.
Because right now the kids are between 2 English, 2 math, and 1 other class. So you have 5 sections to divide 120 students between. So with English, if I take an English teacher out, I have 1 English teacher that has to service all of those students in 1 day. So that's the hard part, looking at our schedule, is losing those academic teachers have a great impact to the numbers in the classroom. Science and social studies right now are every other day. So again, their class sizes are big because they see the entire grade level as 1 teacher, but it's every other day versus every day for English and math. With looking at the UA classes or the specials, we have the same thing. We have 7 sections, it's about 16.5 students per section. We have a limit in our technology class. They can only have 16 students given the equipment that we have. So again, if we drop that down, we'll be looking at closer to about 21 students in a class, taking into account that the technology classes are limited. It's also very hard in a unified arts class to just take the number of students and divide equally. Some students have band, some students have chorus, some students have resource, so it's not a very equal, the number of students divided into a class. It also has to do with choice. And then for our budget, we didn't ask for anything. Our budget really is looking at how do we continue high quality instruction and supports for students given what we have, the resources that we have. And in order to maintain those resources, it really is the increase in the price of materials. Buying anything is costing more money now. Resources for departments who haven't purchased recently that need new supplies, so there's a little bit of increase in some of those, and contractual obligations. That's our budget, is really maintaining what we have now, trying to give the students the supports and instruction they need. If we hadn't asked for, very similar again, it would be a reading interventionist and a math coach so that we could look at some of those scores and have those interventions for students. How do we pull out students that need more support in math? How do we find the time to have a reading coach? We don't have that right now. We're getting creative using flex periods where teachers are pulling small groups of students that need extra support, but that's 40 minutes once a week. And that's all we have. So that would be our wish list if we could. That's our budget.
Okay, high school.
They have 2 videos for you. One is started, and it has requests for introductions and impacts, and then the other side. And the other one is just people of teachers, departments, and how that shifted over the past 5 years.
So our budget, just as Joe was mentioning, just sort of what we control in our building, not looking at staffing in particular as we begin, is really, I feel, a pretty disciplined budget. We're about $5,000 less than we were last year for request. And just looking 5 years back as well, we're about $55,000 less than we used to ask for as well. Adjusted for inflation, that's about $67,000 under. So we're very purposeful in the way that we look at the budget. Just as Joe mentioned, we are looking at library resources. How many databases are we using? Do we use them consistently? How can we make that more meaningful? So it's a really mindful process that we do. The needs cover a comprehensive high school. So, students need 25 credits for graduation. That's a state requirement. That covers what we call core classes, your English, your math, your science, your history, your social studies, but then also elective courses. Electives don't necessarily mean that they choose, whether they have to take them or not. It's just that they get to choose what to choose from. So there's a wide range that students are required to have. That includes, technology education or phys ed courses as well. So over the past 5 years, we've actually lost 5.2 teachers, so roughly a teacher a year. That is 2 ELA teachers, 2 math teachers, and then 1.2. That 0.2 was a retired teacher who had come back to teach a course for us, so that's why that says that there. We have gained some positions. We gained a school social worker as well as the special education teacher that we inherited from the middle school due to staffing needs. Those weren't adds to the budget or to the district. They were just shifts due to heightened needs that we had. The social worker in particular has just been a godsend for us. It's been a wonderful thing. So we're really grateful to have that and understand that the needs shifted in that way. For non-certified, we've lost the greeter, as everyone else has, our ISS supervisor, as well as our library aide. And big programs that we've lost overall, our Saturday school program, which was a really great way actually to have families be involved in that discipline process. So having kids have to get up on a Saturday morning, and also to eliminate the amount of time that students might be spending out of class for in-school suspension. So that was a really good way to do that. We were sad to lose that, but we've been really flexible and doing a lot more restorative work. The late bus is something that, we have seen a significant impact on. I know the middle school has as well. I had 2 teachers mention today that they had a club meeting after school and no students could come because of a variety of reasons, and I think our late bus has something to do with that. And I think students starting that process at the middle school, being involved after school, and then that continuing on, I think that's something that, we're really missing for sure. Some reduction in security hours and some supplemental field trips that we've had. Field trips are a higher cost for kids now. Teachers are still offering them, but the costs are higher for students. So overall, what types of instructional impacts have we had? We've had an increase of average class sizes with the loss of staff. Our enrollment has been pretty flat. It's about a reduction of 30 students from about 5 years ago. It's, about 8 students a grade. That's a nominal difference. So we are seeing an increase in that. So what that looks like at the high school level is that we're still offering things, but we have a lot of our level 1 and our level 2 classes that would be then combined. So it would be a high school elective, and then we would have a larger group of students in there with diverse needs. Our teachers are rising to the occasion and doing great work, but it's a heavy load on them. It's a heavy load on the special ed teachers that also are in there supporting. It's a different environment. So there are some instances where that works out well, and there's some instances where it's really challenging. As everybody else has mentioned, we lost 2 math teachers in that time. So our freshmen used to have 2 credits of algebra in their freshman year, and now they only have 1. We don't know the impact of that because that's roughly new, relatively new for us, but that is, again, just a reflection of what's happening district-wide. We're offering fewer academic electives because we have to offer more core classes as well. And you can see the other ones, just our flex class sizes are larger. What's not included in the budget is flip side for you there. Just things that we would love to have, but we aren't including in the budget. So obviously prioritizing any reductions that we've already had in the past 5 years, that late bus, any field trip funds, those opportunities for kids are just so important, and providing equitable access for them. If we had unlimited options, I would love to add a technology or a careers teacher, because there are just a lot of really great dual enrollment programs that we're noticing throughout the state. For example, Central Connecticut is offering college credit courses in food service, in engineering, and that is going to tap into our level 1 students. Usually the college credit process is for our honors and our AP track. I would love to open up opportunities for our level 1 students who are college bound also, but maybe don't have as much exposure and fewer credits when they go in there. So that's a missed opportunity that we have as well. And a 0.5 social studies teacher. As you saw, we're at 6.5 or 5.5. I would love to add that extra half in there so that we can offer extra electives. And then, as everyone else is discussing about MTSS and how we support our struggling learners, the management of the tier 2 and 3 interventions right now are falling really heavily on teachers, on our school counselors. I would love to have somebody that can help to streamline that process. We had the math coach was helping and supporting at grade 9, and she was such a godsend when we were working in our MTSS group. She was helping with that transition process, giving us information, and it's really missed there. So, those high quality interventions at that level would be really great to help to prevent maybe potentially complex interventions that have to happen later for students. So that's our budget there.
I think you did that in one breath. Exhale. So, obviously, this was a little different presentation than years past, and the recommendation, and I agree, you wanted to hear from those that are in the trenches, those that have been in their schools, and what they want. When we go through our PowerPoint, I think you're going to have a better understanding of how we got here, and that this has happened over time. And I hope that becomes really clear for you. We want to put all of the bullet points up on the website. We want to put the PowerPoint on the website. We want to have access to so people can do that and see it. We want to go out into the buildings, to the PTO meetings, and there's another recommendation for something that you might want to talk to later or at our next meeting. So we're trying to get as much information as we can out to the general public to see where we're at. A lot of things have been eliminated that you're really excited about. I understand that. The math interventionist, the STEM person, fluctuating class sizes. We're never going to get to 13 or 14 in a classroom. That would be ideal, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen. And we know that. And that's why that budget that we presented, there's one budget, it's level funded, and we're going to go through where we're at and why we're there. So there's going to be the opportunity to ask questions throughout. The administrators are here, they're prepared. Curriculum and special education will be a part of your questioning as we go through this. So anything specific to them, their staffing levels stayed the same. Same with technology. There's no new technology personnel that are added. We do the grant, you know that. And he's been really frugal. I know that Carter went through his budget, and there's really, other than a couple of mandates that we have to abide by with the state, there's nothing new there. The special ed staffing levels are flat as well. So we'll get more into that. So Tom, if you can start the PowerPoint. I'm going to pass the PowerPoint around to you. Yeah.
Can I just take a moment to thank all the administrators, because this is extremely helpful to have this kind of, not background, but the oversight of what you see, so thank you for taking the time to put that together.
Is anyone the door open, or is it? No? I'm kidding. Don't fall asleep when we put the lights on. Okay, we're waiting for, does everyone have the slide? All right, so it's a good old pie chart. So the breakdown, when we look at our overall budget and what we're looking for, is just over 7%. Okay, and the story, as we go through each slide, you'll see over time what we have received for the past several years and why we're in the situation that we're in. We've dug a hole, we've backfilled it with the 2%, we've never gotten ahead of it. And this past year, we had to do the same thing with transportation. We transferred $600,000 over. That basically wiped out the 2% fund. We have money that we're projecting to come back in from this past year's audit that we know we're going to push forward to next year, realistically, okay? Based on this local data, we have a pretty good idea of where we've been, but I will say, we're at a point where we've bent, we're going to break. So we need to start going in the other direction, or there's a lot of things that got mentioned here tonight that we're going to really have to take a hard look at. So that being said, the biggest part, benefits and salary, which is almost 80% of your budget right there. Unfortunately, the things that we've talked about for teaching and learning are the smallest pieces of the pie. There's no new initiatives, which is disappointing. It's hard to stand before you and say, oh, this is not a good budget. It's not a budget that we're proud of. It's a bare bones budget to try to maintain what we have, not to grow the district, not to do a lot of things that are happening. Tom's been running around doing AI presentations to the staff, and there's a lot of exciting things. And you heard about STEM, and everybody wants to, to incorporate STEM at the early grades and grow that towards the high school for that vision of the graduate. But we're handcuffed right now because of this. Okay, so I just kind of want to paint a picture for you to see, how we got here. So this breaks it down through transportation is a large number because of carrying the $600,000 over. I met with DACO, with Martha. We're trying to work something out for next year to help us with this. All right, we're maximizing the number of students on the bus based upon the state statute that requires that we go to every home within X miles of each school, that we don't have a choice. So we're really stuck there as well, but DACO's been really good at working with us to try to free some things up. Okay? So this will just go the allocations by category. You can see the increases, the changes all the way through. As we mentioned, transportation was a big increase because we had to move that money over. We negotiated one bargaining unit so far. The teachers was obviously the largest group, but we do have all other bargaining units coming up before the end of this academic year. Okay, so we're projecting that there's going to be increases, obviously. with those other welcome units.
And that increase is shown in this?
We have an increase that we project out to put in as a placeholder.
Okay.
Yes. Okay?
I'm sorry, one more thing. The benefit, is that health insurance
Yes.
and anything else, or just health?
Benefits is just our health.
It's
It's broken up by dental.
it's health, life,
Okay.
dental.
yeah, it's all the pieces.
And
Even
they're
the
itemized.
Medicare and FICA employer share is considered a benefit, so that's found in there as well.
Thank you. Go ahead, better.
Yep.
Okay.
Staffing totals and changes, 25 and 26, you can go through and see the reductions. We spoke to some of those reductions last year. As you know, we moved the middle school, a high school math English teacher both over to the middle school when we had vacancies. We reduced our security staff. We obviously no longer have a coaching model, so there's been a number of things that affected. The greeters were replaced 2 years ago. But we're seeing dribs and drabs of the fallout. The community has voiced concerns about no greeters. The security guards, the purpose of them is to be frequently moving throughout the building, doing door checks, going out for recess, going to large areas within the building, not being stuck in front of the door for 8 hours. Now, without the greeters, we really have to keep them in front of the door. But that was not the original intent. We're down 2.0 FTEs. We had a retirement last year, and we reduced all other security employees to gain another 8 hours a day in reduction. So as you can see across the line, our nurses, we're in 4 buildings, 4 nurses. We did reduce the custodians from 13 to 11. We're bare minimum right there. I have 3 out right now. So we're scrambling, and we are bare minimum. Unaffiliated, you have
Unaffiliated, there's anybody who does not belong to one of the bargaining units. So that would be your BCBA, myself, Scott, IT, your director of facilities, your director of food service,
John
family
Fuller.
resource center, all your IT techs.
Yeah. At high school. Yeah. So those are all, or was it state level? Secretarial, we went down 1, as you know, we moved 1 out of central office. Okay? Salary increases, we really just mentioned it for teachers, but if you go through, you'll see the other bargaining units that we will be negotiating with. This is going to be just a The teachers' agreement was voted on by the town council, was unanimously approved by the council to move forward. That contract alone equates for almost 2% for that increase. It's the largest bargaining unit. It's $578,000 just to carry that contract forward is almost 2% of our budget.
And that will not be like separate, right?
Would that be?
It's one budget, one school, one team. So the teachers are just 2% of it, just for that increase.
So the vote is unanimously 2-3. So can we be optimistic that we might be a little bit more generous?
A little bit more?
Say that.
That's said, it's safe to think that they're going to be more generous. But
I'm being optimistic here.
Oh.
Right?
we're taking.
Wasn't calling on you.
Oh.
Wasn't calling on you for you.
Oh, phew.
2 minutes for me. All right. Benefit increases, and we mentioned before about, I hate stepping in front of this. It is everything there, life insurance, vision, dental, blah, blah, blah. You know, the crazy part with the insurance game is that when we got into this state plan, we thought it was going to be better for savings for all because we went into a very large pool and that was a mistake. But then we inherited their experience and with that comes the increase of now for a family plan, we're paying $30,000.
For family, it's close to $38,000.
$38,000 for a family plan. It's outrageous. And our bargaining units pay a very hefty sum for their premium share. I mean, our teachers are over 20%. Yeah, they're all really high. So you get an increase, but then you're going backwards with your insurance. You know, so when we negotiated the teacher's contract, we worked with their insurance premiums to try to level that so that when they got an increase, they got an increase. You have to be competitive. If we're not competitive, we're going to lose good staff to other districts.
Do we have to stay with this health insurance?
Well, to finish the year, you can go out and shop and do things, but, you know, Martha can speak to the dangers of.
Yeah, so there's language in each of the contracts that says we would have to look into a plan that's similar to what we have. Honestly, it's late in the year to do a RFP and get a new insurance program on for July 1st. So it's something that you could look at for the following year, but that would also mean opening up negotiations with each one of the unions again. And I believe there is language in the state partnership plan that says if one belongs, then all have to belong. So I would think it would be the same in reverse. If one leaves, I would think we would have to move all of our unions out.
But every district that's in we're going to be saying that it's crushing. Your budget, when you look at our pie chart, what we're paying for benefits for our employees. All right, I mean, we're good with benefits. Where does it come from? So, I'm going to walk over to this side. So if you look at the breakdown to get to the 100%, you know, obviously salary is 51%, the benefits are 70% right off the bat. And then, you know, tuition change, so buildings and grounds is up 2%, curriculum is less than 1%, support programs are negative, technology, Tom went backwards in his as well, transportation is the bump because we're carrying $600,000 over, so that $600,000 goes towards level funding and then the addition for next year, our increase. So that's why that's at that 26. Administrative, point less than 1.7, and that equates to the 100% right there. So obviously the bar graph shows that this is the budget. Okay. Our enrollment trends, we've said over the last few years, we're kind of flat right now. We've increased slightly, 8 students, 12 students, 1573, projected out for October. So that seems to be where we're at. You know, when we look at our K enrollment and we're getting 100 to 110 to 120 students. And now with, you know, the change in the law, you look at the homes being built in the community and you know, they're not building mansions, they're building large homes. So I think, you know, projecting out, that enrollment is going to start to increase a little bit with the lower grades because of families moving in. Right?
It's also more tax revenue as well.
Yeah, with those homes. Fund 25, this is just the state language for the statute for the money comes back to the board uses it for education and moving forward. This is a slide from last year. The non-lapsing account, as you know, we had 754 from that last piece of information from the town, minus the 43,318 for Tyler, for use for our software that we went into with the town. And then outstanding purchase orders, the student transportation that we took out, it's actually 632,000, which left 78,000 total. We're projecting, anticipating for 24-25 last year, 678 to come to us. So when you add the 78 and 678, you get the 756, 638. That should be in our 2% account moving forward. Okay, so, and I've said this to you before, that's over 2% of our budget. So that nest egg there, when we start talking about our end number, what are we gonna do? I guarantee you, we're gonna come back and look to this. So we're sitting on the 2%, we're not doing anything with it. We're gonna go through the budget process, but we know we're gonna have another conversation about it. Okay? Regional budget comparison over time. So, North Branford, over a 4-year period, we've averaged 1.26%. If you go down, now some of these towns like Madison, their healthcare is provided through their town side, so that's not included. But if you look, comparatively, we're the lowest of the list that we usually use for our revenue schools. Last year, obviously, it was significantly different from surrounding towns. Again, Madison has their medical pull through the town.
Do any of the other,
Who else does that? Did we say?
I didn't find any other towns that told me about the other variable there is that some towns include their debt service payments
Yeah.
within there.
Your
So it's-
regional districts will have to allocate funds for their debt principal and interest. So if you, say, looked at Region 18 or Region 13 budgets, if they did a capital improvement project, they carry the bond debt on their books, whereas we don't because the town carries it on theirs. So there's some differences between who pays for what when you look at each town.
Yeah, like Route 18 had obviously a project here.
But all in all, we're basically doing the same thing. We're educating our students and paying our staff. So regardless of which town you look at, North Branford is the lowest.
And per pupil costs?
Expenditure.
Yeah, expenditure, did you do a regional project comparison?
So for the next one, I can, and we're usually in the 50 percentile in Connecticut. So we can run 168 districts and show you. Can you make a note of that? To run the
Per pupil?
This is just a historical, when you look back over time, from 16, 17 through 26, a 10-year, we're averaging 1.16. The COVID year obviously was here, but there's years that we've been less percent. The greatest we've gotten is in 23-24 to 2.03. So when we bring a number like 7% forward for status quo, this is telling you why we are here. We dig a hole, we backfill it, we move forward, we honor contracts. We've eliminated, and we're at a critical point right now with where we're at and the decisions we have to make to provide the highest quality education in a safe environment, in clean buildings, with qualified staff, from pre-K through 22 years of age. Okay? That's it. Do you need, well, they have it on the PowerPoint, so I don't think we need this.
I just want to make one comment about the high school. We're kind of showing that we're adding the assistant principal back into the budget, but really we're not. I think when we had a budget last year, it was in there, but when we revised the budget to move that money, am I correct? That, I don't want it to look like we're adding a position.
If you look at,
I see what you're saying.
Oh.
Yes.
if you look at the salary line for the administrators at the high school, you'll see for next year, it's up significantly, and that's because I had to add that position back in.
I know, what I'm saying is I'm concerned that it's going to look like we're trying to add a position, but we're not. Like we initially, they're not making sense that we have.
Yeah, we're down an administrator. We're going back to our level.
Because we utilize that money for other things, but I want to somehow make that clear that we're saying status quo, but it looks as though we're adding a position, but we're really not.
Right. We didn't
Some
fill
money's
the
being
position.
left it unfilled,
Right.
but it was in our initial budget from last year.
It's not a new position, it's just filling it.
Right,
Correct.
that's correct.
I don't know how to make that clear at our presentation, but should it come up, I just want that to be clear to people.
Sure.
Were we able to come up with efficiencies that we found within the school year that have been implemented? I know there was copier things that you were tracking, copying, and different things throughout the district.
We haven't renegotiated anything that, significantly. We've met with the bus company. I'm meeting with Adult Ed next week for our relationship with Branford for, continuing education. Those are two things that are big parts of our budget, but those are the two primary things. So
Right, but there's additional efficiencies that were found within the budget that were month savings.
which ones?
That we were talking about in the budget, in operations meeting, and I had asked if the administration
You
could.
guys said something with copiers that you looked in.
Those are things we've done throughout the years.
Yes,
Right.
that's,
So you want something that's not necessarily focused on the current year, but that we've done as we've gone on?
yes, to show really good stewardship of the money that we get from the town, apart from making cuts to personnel, so that we can show that you've done the work. That's something that we talked about in our committee meeting, so I was just hoping that we could see that and show some additional efficiencies.
I mean, just thinking off like the solar field has been something that we've, worked the town to, those are the larger things. Shared services with the town, I mean, we collaborate with our, our maintenance with them and doing things, but as for significant savings there, we kind of wash each other's hands and help each other with that. But I think the solar field is probably the biggest one for.
It is. There's little things that we've done, like changing carriers for workers' compensation. That's resulted in
Yeah.
probably $60,000 to $70,000 worth of savings. If you saw on the, if you saw on the benefit slide, you'll notice that there is no projected increase for workman's comp for next year. That's because by the management of our company that's doing it now has a lot more under control and better communication, shall I say. And we actually, if you look at our current budget, I was able to transfer some funds out of the line to somewhere else in the budget where we need it. So that has been an ongoing.
Yes, so I would like to highlight that.
Yeah, I can make a list of
So
things
that
for
it's,
you.
yeah, besides just making cuts, these are additional things that I would like the public to know, council to know, things like that. Tom, can I ask you, I know you did something with the phones.
Yeah.
What was the overall savings on that?
Well, I think my budget's a -8 this year.
You'll see it on that
A
slide.
substantial portion of that savings is due to that phone system. In the current year, that helped save a lot of my budget. Next year, I anticipate being negative because of that savings, as well as some additional things, getting rid of landlines, moving those to cellular. The copier lease has proven to overall be a savings for us, although copier usage is up this year. But unfortunately, it's been a consequence of cutting workbooks, right? So on the one hand, we cut workbook funds, so our copier costs go up because we need to make more copies. So some of that's a give and take. I think we've been fortunate over the past couple of years that this entire team has worked really hard to right-size a lot of kind of our subscriptions and services and get kind of as lean as we possibly can, for lack of a better term. The increases you see across departments don't reflect inflation if we kept everything status quo, and I think, that's a real testament to the work that a lot of these administrators have done, even cutting programs or services that we realized weren't getting the usage. So they may have been great for a small group of students, but that kind of cost-benefit analysis, really going through every single thing with a fine-tooth comb and making sure we were doing kind of what we could to sustain the programs we have.
So we'll put another sheet in.
Yep, please.
This is a work in progress, obviously. We're getting ready to bring this to the town. So this is the ebb and flow of us going through this drill. So that would be the middle slide for
I
that.
think it's great so far. I just, there's so much that you all do that the public doesn't know. And that's what I think is important to get out, because they just see,
A number.
they just see a number. And most of them, don't show up to anything, watch anything. All they see is a bottom line number and they go, what the heck happened there? But if they see the how-to and all the stuff eliminated and the work behind it all, it starts to make sense. And I think that's what we need to just,
Yeah.
well, we're good at not patting ourselves on the back, right? But I think we need to pat ourselves on the back.
Yeah, no, we can focus on things that are, we're more efficient at, and what was just discussed here, and show X, Y, and Z how we've gotten here, aside from our reduction in staff, our reduction in programs, and those big cost savings things that we're doing.
Does this budget eliminate those activity fees, or are those
No,
activity fees still?
The only thing that will potentially happen is they'll go up. So if the reality of, we need over $2 million to stay flush at 7%. And I don't like the activity fees. It's hard for me even to talk about them because it puts a lot of pressure on my administrative team as collectors. And it's no different than, their lunch programs where we have kids that unfortunately, when they have to be the ones, and then when they don't pay for their activity fees or things that they're constant reminders. And
I thought that was only supposed to be temporary.
well, temporary is temporary if we get enough money that we don't have to do it. So for everything that we need, we had to gain another 71,000 this year, or we would have to reduce another position. So we looked at a fair way to balance every student in the district for an activity fee. So at Jerome, it was like $5 per student. And then it went to, I think the TBS paid the same amount, and then it went up to the high school and the middle school, and then it increased to the high school as
So
well.
this is separate from the pay to play?
Yeah, separate.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what are the activity fees for? Sorry, I don't know.
So for sports, and clubs and things like that. So if you play a sport, we cap it at a certain amount if you have multiple kids in the family.
Yeah.
So high school is the most expensive, I think it was 125.
Okay.
And the middle school to participate was like 75. So we tried to balance it out, and then if you were in the play or you were doing something else, we really worked hard to not have as much of an impact on families. But we had to find that $71,000
Or lose another teacher.
or another teacher. So we want it to be temporary. We just have to get the funding. It has to come from somewhere, and that's that's the unfortunate part about it.
Now, I just have a question. What's the difference between an interventionist and a coach? Is there a difference? Are they used
So Carter, do you want
So
to jump on the curriculum?
So, yes, so the interventionist is actively working with students providing academic support services. Those kids that are behind grade level expectations, they get specialized instruction from that
So are these
interventionist.
kids without IEPs or with
Yes.
IEPs?
Yes, these are general ed students that are in our tiered system, so they're not quite at grade level, tier 2 students, tier 3 students. So we do that with paraprofessional support, but those interventionists, are certified teachers and can coordinate those systems. And an instructional coach, we in the district were creative with those positions and used our instructional coaches to provide that intervention service. So they were actively working with kids, helping to close gaps, but they were also supporting professional development of teachers as well in delivering curriculum instruction. So we were, I would say fiscally responsible with those positions to beyond just a coach working with adults, they were working with kids too.
Joe, you mentioned you guys have a certified library specialist, was that?
We do, yes.
What's the difference between that and what Jerome has?
We have a paraprofessional.
who runs our library.
Thank you.
Different needs at different age levels. You know, again, I had an assistant at Tucket as well before that we eliminated. At the high school, we had certified staff, but we eliminated an assistant in the library as well. So we've cut everything down based upon what we're required to do, and that's where we're at. So there's one person in the high school library, there's one person in the middle, in the middle school as well. We try to rotate support staff through when we can, based upon need.
May I ask the administrators, please, and I know you don't have numbers because I didn't think to ask you this, but can you just quickly tell us how you handle instructional supplies in your building? So does someone, is that funny? Okay. Wow. I was thinking of that. But, you know, did you have a closet that people just go to, do your teachers get an allotment? How do parents, are parents asked to send in pencils and notebooks and pads? So can you just briefly kind of tell me how that happens in your buildings?
Sure, I'll start. So this year was the first year that we did ask families in the beginning of the year to send in certain supplies. Each grade level kind of came together to determine what that would be per the grade level. But, you know, pencils and things of that nature, crayons, things of that nature. We do have a supply closet that one of our teachers kind of oversees. We do a survey to teachers at the beginning of the year to kind of get a sense of what instructional supplies they really need in the classroom. And then we do have an allotment. So we go ahead and purchase them, you know, at the end of the school or the summer for the following year. And then we do a refresh in the middle of the year to see what else may need for the remainder. But there's a closet, but there's also an allotment of what a teacher's asking for and what we're able to provide based on.
So is it a dollar amount, or you do the best you can too?
In terms of?
Like for the teachers, like.
Oh, no, it's really based off of like what it is that when we survey them, like what they're saying that they really need in the classroom, and then we do our best to purchase that across the grade levels, and then we allot that for them.
Okay. So like when I was there, I used to say we have $190 or $102.
Oh.
Did the teachers still receive some?
Oh, I see what you're saying, I'm sorry. Yeah, so I will say to teachers at the end of the year, yes, they have $150 for their own kind of what specialized for their room, but then for supplies across the building, that's governed by or surveyed out through staff.
And that $150 is for how long?
It's for the year. It is coming out of our it is coming out of our instructional supplies line.
Okay.
But this is the first year you asked families to
It is.
provide.
It is.
Thank you.
A lot of the PTOs put out sites, and you'll see that, you know, wish lists and teacher will.
I may have done some shopping this year.
So how much does it cost about per teacher if outside of that, so like in a perfect world, what would it cost?
Oh, that's a wonderful question. I don't know. I know teachers spend a lot of their own money, a lot in terms of what they purchase for their own classroom. So that's, I'm not sure, but it's definitely more than $150.
I would, you know.
I would say that, yeah.
My turn?
Your turn.
So pretty similar to Jerome, we have a supply closet that has the basics, folders, line paper, staple, you know, the basic stuff. Teachers are allotted $150, and they can choose to spend that on instructional supplies, however they choose to for their individual classrooms. It's certainly not enough because today $150 doesn't go very far, so they are spending a lot of their own money as well. In addition to that, through a curriculum lens, if there are special needs for language arts or math, we typically survey the staff and identify the needs, and then we're able to purchase some of those more individualized items for reading and math through our instructional ELA line or instructional math supply line.
And are you asking families to supply?
Yes, yep. Yeah.
Last year, based on parent feedback, we sent out an email after polling our staff by department on what are the actual items that students need, like a binder or certain colored pens. And we sent that supply out in the summer because parents asked what they should purchase coming to the middle school. But outside of that, we're very similar, is that our departments are asking and what they need to continue our instructional programs, and that's what we're purchasing. Based on the supply lines, the instructional ELA supply line, whatever we can purchase at that time, that's what's getting purchased for the instructional programs. Outside of that, in terms of what's needed to run the building, we have the same thing. We have a supply closet that we monitor out of that specific supply line. And teachers tell us at the end of the year what they need to keep going in terms of Post-its and pencils and things that we can provide. And then we just kind of monitor it throughout the year to see what we have to refill.
Unfortunately, at the middle school, that's what has taken a hit really in our building,
Okay.
has been supplies, because over the years, we have been fortunate to have grants and things to start new programs. So originally, those things were paid for with grant money. So over the years, we've had to replenish with our own supply money, which means that supply account money has gone down by 80%,
Wow.
because we had to give money to the departments.
So no teacher allotments then?
None.
Department, like the whole department as a whole has.
Oh, I see.
But it does not give to teachers
Right.
individually, it's
No.
only programmatically.
Thank you.
All right, so high school, same, we have a closet that's in the main office, basics, Post-its, notebooks, things like that that we might need, pens and pencils, and then departmental. So, and at the high school level, it's specialized, so our science lab equipment is going to be very different from the request from our tech ed department, who might need new wood, our theater arts, who might need scripts, so it's really departmental focused. And again, we're really mindful about that because we look at it as a whole. If one department is down a little bit, and we allow another department, like for example, we haven't bought wood in several years, and they're getting down to little bits and bobs, so you know, that's increasing, and then we look at other departments and spaces that we can pull from, so it's a team effort for sure.
Okay. And parents are asked to purchase?
They're not asked to purchase like pens and pencils and things like that. Students will bring their own materials. We don't really provide that, I think, as an elementary would, and students are on Chromebooks as well. Teachers will do consumables in terms of like big whiteboard paper, that type of stuff, for that making thinking visible as well.
Thank you.
We lock those closets, right?
They used to.
We do at MBIS, we do.
Yeah, the security guards.
Our closet is hidden.
Everyone, it is in the fall.
Martha, I have a question for you about insurance. When will we know for sure? I know you put 9% in there based on our last couple of years.
Yeah.
When would we know for certain that that 9% would be something we can count on?
Well, the 9% has been the actual increase for the past 2 years.
Right.
So I thought using the actual from the past 2 years as projected was safe.
Okay.
We won't know if it's higher or lower mid-April to May, depending on when the state does their renewal.
Okay.
Frustrating.
And that's for the medical piece. And then the dental and the vision are priced separately, but we will get the renewal figures at that same time because it is part of the state partnership.
So we could be looking at even more of a problem
Yes.
later on in the year.
Just one person coming off a buyout to go back to the benefits could make a huge difference.
Oh, yeah.
$35,000.
Oh, yeah. Closer to 40, 38, 38,000.
Somebody joining the insurance again instead of the buyout, but also.
But, you know, then you also have the regular fluctuation, you know, a staff member may decide that they don't need the insurance. And now there's grandfather or sunset language in the contracts that may prohibit that employee from participating in the medical buyout. So now you're not paying for the medical insurance and now there's no medical buyout to pay for either. So it could go the other way.
Right,
You could have, you know,
right.
staff members have kids all the time, you know, the kids age out and then they come off. So there's a constant, even from month to month, a constant fluctuation. I could never say to you, this is the exact amount that we pay for every single month because it changes every month based on people's lives.
Life change. Tom, I was going to ask you to talk about that technology grant.
Sorry.
Technology grant?
So in terms of the lease, or which grant are you referring to?
I don't know, I just heard Scott say we use the technology grant, so.
Well, so.
No, we have a lease
It's a
agreement.
lease.
We
A
did
lease,
year-
yeah.
Okay,
So-
An amount, yeah.
Yeah, so we do have a lease that the town has renewed every year. It's $280,000 before fees. That is not within the budget itself. That is strictly for physical assets, so servers, hardware, Chromebooks, staff devices, smart boards. But that amount has stayed the same as far as back as I know that it has
Yeah,
existed.
it's actually four-year leases within that 280.
That way.
Okay.
So every year a new one comes on for
Okay.
approximately 70,000 and one drops off.
But although, I mean, I am grateful for that funding, please don't get me wrong, but that is really a bare bones amount to sustain a district of this size. Here we have classroom technology that's from 2008 that is still being actively used in classrooms that I would love to be replacing at a faster speed, but frankly, I'm replacing as fast as I possibly can while still kind of keeping the lights on and the Wi-Fi going. We have Wi-Fi technology that is reaching end of life as well, and we will keep going beyond kind of what we probably should or could and keep band-aiding things together. We have staff who have devices who are 6 years old, where the recommendation is that we would replace staff devices every 4 years. So we are being as efficient and responsible as we possibly can with the resources we have, but I am worried that at some point we will reach a breaking point with that. To Scott's point, with the totality of the budget, we are trying to be as responsible as we can on the technology side, obviously facing a pretty difficult budget situation. But at some point, the 2008 technology can't be replaced, it can't be fixed. And, we'll keep taking old parts off of old things and trying to keep things going, but at some point, that's not an option anymore.
So then, are there grants out there that we aren't applying for, aren't going after?
Unfortunately, it's going in the opposite direction. Most of those grants have dried up or disappeared altogether. A grant that we relied on annually has now gone to a biannual. So that grant wasn't available this year. It will be available next year, but the funding will be about half. So you're looking at about a quarter of the funding that we used to receive from that grant annually we'll be getting now, but over time. So that was a grant that we used to help replace those 2008 devices. We've absorbed more of that cost within the lease payments, within that lease funding, but the downside of that is then I can't replace staff devices as frequently. So like I said, we try to be as efficient and a good steward as we can with that, but it does hold us back from replacing aging technology.
And Tom, we probably have 2,000 devices in the district?
Oh, well more than that.
Well more than that.
Yeah, but at least 2,500 plus.
20. So that's every student, every staff member,
Correct.
desktops. I mean, and that's to continually update and phase and repair and, just with the student computers alone, with kids being kids, it's constant. I dropped it, I left it in the rain,
Right, so
Left it in the rain.
Your kids, this happens.
I know.
Anyone sitting at this table that has children knows, this happens. The dog
So
stuff
that
happens.
brings up a good point, because you said that for the teachers, it's recommended that it's replaced every 4 years, but we're doing every 6.
Yep.
How does that work with kids? Because you can't predict that, right?
No, so the way we kind of handle that risk is we do warranty student devices for 4 years.
Okay.
So when a new 9th grader gets a device, I think of like a car, it's a bumper-to-bumper warranty, right, for 4 years. So whether they drop it off a cliff or do whatever to it, we're going to be able to replace that device at no cost. So that way we kind of know what our front cost is ahead of time for 4 years. We've been fortunate that most of these devices last longer than 4 years. So, frankly, when we get to the end of that 3rd year, like the 8th grade device, we send them back to the company, get them kind of refurbished as best we can, and cycle them down to the elementary grades. Okay. So those elementary student Chromebooks may be 6 or 7 years old at this point, which obviously is not ideal, but we're getting the most out of those devices we possibly can. Once they're out of warranty, and frankly, we're swapping out pieces trying to keep these things going, but at some point they just can't work anymore. So we do at that point dispose of them and recycle them. But that's been the best model. We've been able to kind of responsibly sustain this and keep one-to-one kind of at that 6 to 12 level, and then cart-based for the students in the elementary level.
Okay, so every student's tablet has to be insured?
For the Chromebooks, we do. For tablet-based, which is really restricted to kind of K1 at this point, pre-K, those we don't warranty. They stay in the classroom. We put really tough cases on them, and knock on wood, we've been pretty fortunate that, you know, the breakage rate is low enough that it doesn't make sense to warranty them, that you know, break-even point is there to just put good cases on them.
Mm-hmm.
They bounce back on the table.
Like rubber.
Rubber things.
I need one of those.
Yeah.
I have a couple more things. Were you all set, Audrey?
Yeah.
I'm wondering, there's two things I'd like to know if we can get maybe for our next meeting or even, you know, at some point.
Yep.
One would be the real number of grants that we're receiving. Like, in other words, from special ed right down to our preschool.
And what's
all of
run
those,
out.
like what?
Okay.
Because I think that's important for people to know as well, that those are supporting our budget and it's.
And what the grant totals
And
are.
what the totals are and what they're for. Because sometimes I lose track. I don't always keep.
And some of them obviously run out with COVID and everything.
Right, and I know we had that big chart last year that
Yeah.
had where we were with each, that was really helpful to have. And the other thing, and I know this is a big ask, but I'm hoping that maybe our athletic director can help with this. You know, we talk a lot about sports and the cost, but we don't really know what it costs to run a program. There are gate receipts for some people, there are groups that support different sports. Is there a way that she could maybe give us a quick, you know, like this is what was taken in for, I'm going to just say football, not picking on anyone. These were the gate receipts for football. This was what was taken in the snack bar for the Thunderbird Club or whatever. And in the end, these revenues offset this. And then I just feel like I personally would have a better idea when we're talking about cuts and where they need to be made, exactly what the expense is for sports, so that we can balance. I'm an extracurricular person. I want them to have every benefit that they can have. But if we're talking about cutting teachers as well, I think that information is important to us now.
Absolutely. And I could have her come to the meeting.
That'd be great.
And present to you.
I'm sure she'd love that because she has nothing else to do.
No.
Not the whole thing is like, you
I
know,
know.
crazy, but I just feel like that would be helpful for me moving
Sure. And behind the scenes with running sports programs, like you mentioned, the football thing, when we have a game at night, we're required to have law enforcement there for a 4-hour minimum.
Right.
So one night of a football game could wipe out the entire gate receipts.
Exactly, yes.
We average, on a busy night, it could be 1,000 people or it could be 400 people. When you do the rate of the officer times what their hourly rate is for a minimum of 4 hours, plus our staff workers as well, just to run a game, it's thousands of dollars.
And it's things that I
And
wouldn't
paying the
necessarily
referees,
think of.
So we'll break it down. I'll have her come in and just go through how she processes with central office for the concession stand. What did the concession stand bring in this year? She has all that.
I figured she would, so I
Yeah.
hope it wouldn't be too big of a job to ask her to just collate it for us.
Yeah.
I think the same could be said for, the activities, but I think probably their figures are small enough that it's not a place where we're going to see.
Well, I'll be honest with you, we've looked at everything. So every building administrator is charged with presenting every activity in every building and showing the enrollment. Because if we get down to hard decisions, we want to know impact on every student.
Exactly.
And every stipend collectively adds up to an amount that may save a teacher.
Right.
So we've
Okay, good. Thank you.
We've drilled down. So we'll get the AD and we'll get that data.
Great.
Yep.
And I'm talking a lot, but I always do. So when I look at these reports from all of the administrators, two things stand out to me. Number one is that even though we're calling this a status quo budget, you've made cuts already. So even though we're saying status quo, I think we have to be careful that we also say, but cuts have been made. Even though we're just trying to maintain what we have, it's been at the expense of some things already. And the other thing that is, mostly concerning is that that math trend going to every single school. And then when we look at our middle school and say, why are our math scores not where they're supposed to be? Well, because of everything that's been outlined tonight. So I don't honestly know what we do moving forward, but I just want to say, I heard what you said, and
It's a national
obviously,
crisis.
it's a concern. It's a concern for all of us.
Right.
I didn't realize that it had such an impact on every single school, so thank you for bringing that to our attention.
To piggyback on the math thing, just for my clarity in my notes, so right now for math support K through 5, it's all being done by paras, not certified staff.
Correct.
And then what happens at NBIS in the high school?
So we have a mix. We're piloting a new program right now, and so certified staff and paras are pulling students out once a week for a little small group extra support. It just depends whether they go with the instructional para or the teacher on which group is going with who that week. But we only have 2 paras that can help with math for 3 grade levels. And then we have 1 per grade level for English. But again, 2 teachers per grade level and every single student, how are they going to service 115 students?
And at the high school, we have 2 certified teachers that help to support it during our flex time. We have an Algebra 1 lab, and students cycle in and out marking period depending on how they're doing and if they need that intervention or not. And we also have one for geometry. So it's a low lift in terms of the staffing. I wish we could have an Algebra 2 one as well. We just don't have the teacher for it.
Thank you. I think at Totucket Valley, didn't you a couple of years ago, I remember a couple of my kids would stay after for extra help? It was like, I don't know if it
Yeah,
was
we used to
homework.
have the Success Program,
Success program.
which I believe was grant funded, but the grant, right?
Right, so we don't have that anymore.
You know, that's the
Right.
the curse of the grant.
Right.
If it's not for hardware and you hire personnel and it runs out, you've got a
Right.
hole that, what do you do with it? And that's notorious everywhere if you, when you're used for personnel and extras.
Is there any technology or AI that could augment any of those programs?
Well, the board, we made it with AI, what we're doing. You know, we're working with teachers with AI, and Tom's doing a lot with that right now, but we're scratching the surface, and we're being cautious with it because it's new, there's a lot.
I understand.
So-
I just did a little research
Yeah,
on.
no, I mean, he's done all that. As for cost savings, I don't think I think our costs are pretty hard right now with really just contractual obligations. If we look at just the 4 bargaining groups with what that equates to, with our projections and what we know the teachers are almost 2%, with healthcare being 9%. Just with those alone, that's 5%. I mean, that's your budget.
I hear you. I just saw that Westport is starting to do some AI, again, moving slowly because it is new and there's a lot to go through, but they are looking at it. I just didn't know if you knew any other districts
Or even help fill in the gaps.
In
maybe?
dirt ag.
I don't know.
I mean, you really got to compare apples to oranges.
that is your.
Our IXL program, what it does is I would consider the AI part of that is what looks at the students' gaps after we provide a benchmark assessment to them and provides the teachers with the targeted skills the students need support with. So it's our opinion that that's what we want. We want teachers with the neediest students supporting them, and the legwork that teachers normally would have had to done is being done by AI. AI has helped diagnosing the learning gaps, and the teachers, with support of AI and building maybe things for students to do, is
Fill those gaps.
filling the gaps and helping the
You still
students.
need this certified instructor to teach what those students have gaps in. It's not a program that can just do it for them.
This is the program we've been implementing.
This is the one we're piloting now.
And I think
And that's what's helping with the pull-out of
Tom, we
small
were into
groups.
that program at a discount for
I forget what we paid, but it was
We
less than
piloted it for $500.
I think we
Yeah,
paid
I
for
mean,
this
it's-
entire year so far.
Yeah.
And so far, you've been impressed with it? There
Yes,
hasn't
the
been
feedback has
errors
been
or
very nice,
things
because
that-
it gives individualized feedback for every student, and then it groups them, so the teachers know, all right, here's the group I have to take, and here's what I have to reteach.
Okay.
So is that something, I mean, we're piloting it, but is it something we're looking at to expand or not?
Well, we're doing it at the middle school, it's moving up to the high school.
We have to evaluate it
Yeah.
at the end of the year, make sure
Right.
it's making the gains we think it can.
Yeah, they're comparing it to iReady right now, because they just did the benchmark, so we're gonna sit with staff and get their full feedback once they can compare everything. But it's positive so far. It's just, you know, to your point of AI helping, it can't teach. So
No.
it can diagnose, but you still need that person that's gonna help teach the concepts to them to understand, so
If you said
that's
to
what we're
me,
trying.
AI math interventionist, I mean,
Yeah,
I think I know where I'm going with that one.
Right.
yeah,
But, you know, it's a supplement to what we're doing for quick check. It's not overload on the teacher because the student does it at home. They monitor it from their desktop. They know how many kids went on, what they did, what the gaps are. It clusters the kids. And then they're able to go back to the teachers and come up with, or the teachers are able to come up with repetition in whatever skill set for growth. And that's what the big thing we wanted to do with, we talked about that as a board, but it's very cost effective. Well, I know what my
It supports the
administrator is
teachers,
saying. It's-
so to
it's
not
the
overwhelm
boots
them.
on the ground that,
Got it.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear at the end of the year what the consensus was,
Feedback.
how people felt about that.
So far, it's
Yeah.
leaning on positive.
Glad to hear that.
That's good.
Yeah.
So I have a ton of questions, and I'm going to put them in an email to everyone, because they haven't been compiled,
But
and I
that's
don't
the
want to
best
keep
way, so
everyone here all
everyone
night.
sees that,
I'm not
and then
prepared.
We can have time to,
Right, and then we can make
process
them,
that.
because
Minutes.
they were more questions that needed, like you to know that I was going to ask them of you.
Yeah.
And then we can put them in the minutes for
Right.
transparency, if that's
Sure.
okay with everyone. Because I don't want
That's a
to
good idea.
fumble through them, because I'm not really ready to
can
ask
you
them
get them to us by
tonight.
Friday?
Well, yes, I could. I could.
You'll have them by
I'll have
7 in the
it-
morning.
I was going to say.
But it helps.
No.
Then we can, before next week's meeting, and I'm not cutting the meeting off now, but what I'm saying is, we're gonna focus on the capital 5-year. We're gonna look at things, what's most important. Capital is not our highest priority right now, unless it's broken and it needs to be fixed. So everything we're going on is human resources, maintaining class sizes, you know, holding on to what we have. So coming back, we'll have the athletic director put together a presentation. We'll add a slide sheet to what you requested before with some of the efficiencies over time that we've done. We'll do a grant page based on what we did last year. Now, we really consolidated it this year based on your request to not have, you know, 75 pages of slides
Right.
that people are getting lost in.
Absolutely.
So we want to keep it tight, we want to keep it efficient, and we'll add those before next week.
Thank you. This thick paper's good.
You're welcome. Now it's warm in here.
I have extra, if there's any. Tom, the new copy machine staples upside down, so.
I probably forgot to go.
What else should we talk about? Comments?
Any public comment?
No, capital, yes, it says capital.
Capital, I said
next
we're gonna
time.
kick out because we're doing
She just has to do
the
public comment.
5-year walkthrough template, and we'll incorporate by building big items, say if you do HVAC heating, food service, blah, 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 per building, what the most important thing is, so then if you wanna cherry pick one thing for next, they're not gonna say, oh, we're gonna do 10 capital projects. So if there's one thing based upon what we've done in our walkthroughs, and then graphing it out over 5 years, we'll come back with something that, you know, the district feels is something that's really for capital. All right?
Scott, I just have a question with the 2% fund.
Yes.
So it says we wiped it out, but then it says we haven't.
So
So did
there's-
we wipe it out from last year?
Yeah, so there were 2 years, there's 78,000 that carried
Yeah.
over from the 6-something. The projection from last year's getting put into the account is for 600 and
For the
something.
year that just ended,
You're just-
678.
678. So
Okay.
that 678 with the leftover 78 gets us to that 754. So we're projecting after the audit, everything's closed and the town shifts the money to us, we're gonna have 754,000 sitting there.
Okay.
So my thought is, we're not doing anything with that unless the ceiling falls down. And then we're gonna have that for next year if we get another year like we've gotten historically. So I'm being very optimistic.
So when you said the wiped out fund, what do you mean by that? Because you said the 2% fund.
Transportation, 600,000 was
Yeah.
taken out of that
Okay,
original one. That's what left the 78,000.
okay,
So now we have this past year's, the town finished their audit, closed it, that will be coming
Got
over.
ya.
So those two numbers. And then we'll just hold on that, because what we've done every year is we've had to do that to save staff, that entire amount.
Yeah, we took,
'Cause I
we took
need-
money out of transportation. to
I
make
need
the
over
budget
$2
work.
million. I need over $2 million in this budget to be at that 7.01.
And my assumption is this year we won't have money to be saving for the 2%, right in our budget.
Well,
I mean,
so
we're pretty tight
we'll
this
run
year.
on fuel consumption, you know, the weather's been really cold. You know, workplace injuries, I've got like 3 custodians out now, it's costing me to, you know, to clean the buildings, and we've got to do what we have to do.
Substitute custodians.
Yeah, so, it's hard to say right now, we're right in the middle of the year.
Yeah, I know.
A couple months from
We're
now,
pretty tight to begin with.
We're
so
tight,
My
there's not-
expectation is that we will not be counting on saving
No.
the money that we had already cut.
no, we're counting on that,
Yes.
what Carolyn just referred to as kind of our buffer for next year.
thanks for clarifying.
Yep, my pleasure.
Appreciate it.
So anything else that you need, send, you know, to Martha or me, or, you know. And if you do to an administrator, please CC us on it so we're not all, you know, tripping over each other to do it. And I want to thank the administrative team because, you know,
This was very helpful.
Well,
I mean,
and-
not that you had to sell it to
but
us.
listen, they wanted to
Really,
do
no, appreciate it.
PowerPoints, they wanted to do, you know, hors d'oeuvres and everything. And I said- And I said, 2 minutes, and then we weren't going to do, but then the handout thing worked out well, so they were.
Well,
And
it helps
listen,
us
they-
if somebody asks a question, it helps us be able to answer it.
Right, and I think you pick up on the pride in what they do in their buildings, and they fight for their building
That didn't
because
need to be shown
that's,
tonight.
that's what
We know
they're
that.
passionate. So,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
okay, so our next, well, let's get the date straight, because
Yes.
communications is on the 12th next
Yes.
week at the police
At the
department.
police department, right.
So Wednesday is our workshop, Thursday is communication.
Okay, so I'm not looking at any calendar right now.
Right, next Wednesday.
Is our next Wednesday.
Yeah.
So
Wednesday,
everyone's on the
Wednesday,
same page. Next
Thursday.
Wednesday is our next budget
Yeah.
meeting here.
And
Okay.
then
And then
Thursday's
Thursday's
communications.
communications. Okay,
Any public comment?
I think they've said enough.
Sorry.
I think they've-
Meeting adjourned.
All right,
right,
thank
two
you,
things.
everyone.
Thank you. Stay warm this weekend.
Can I have all your,
On the hours,